Bonjour.
Hello.
Bonjour. Bonjour à tous, bienvenue.
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Bienvenue à tous. Oh, on reconnaît les... on reconnaît les têtes maintenant. Ça fait plaisir de vous
We're
revoir.
starting to recognize people's faces now. It's nice to see you all again.
On est à l'avant-dernier atelier virtuel de
This is our last but one workshop, one before last.
Ah, bonjour. Ok, bah, je vais commencer. Je vais diffuser le PowerPoint. Hop. Ça y est, vous voyez? Ok, donc bonjour à tous et à toutes.
So hello, everyone, again. Thanks for joining us today for the last one before last workshop dedicated to circular economy in Africa.
Tout de suite, je mentionne qu'on a une interprétation disponible. On aura un intervenant du coup qui parlera en anglais aujourd'hui.
We have live translation. We'll have one English speaker. So if you need to listen to the translation, please click on the globe.
The session in English because we'll have a majority of speakers in French today. You just have to click on the globe and click on English to follow. Voilà, donc je mentionne dès maintenant qu'on voudrait que cet atelier soit le plus interactif.
We want this workshop to be as interactive as possible. If you have any comments, any questions to make during the workshop, please feel free to write any comment or questions in the chat box. And at the end of the workshop, if time allows, we will have time for a Q&A. So keep some of your questions for the end of the... We need everyone to mute. Please mute your mic. Mute your mic, please. Thank you. We had about 300 people who registered for today's workshop, and I think there's probably going to be about 100 people or so connected. Thank you very much. It's a topic that has been well followed. Circular economy encompasses a lot of other topics. This is something that we'll be looking at more specifically today, waste management regarding the various networks, organizations, communities, etc. These are our goals for this workshop. The first thing is to keep some momentum within the coalition, the Circular Economy Coalition that was created at the last summit. This is the youngest coalition in a way that has the smallest number of members within the coalition, which does not mean there is no willingness or momentum to start doing things together. This virtual workshop is here to help us keep a momentum before some major events, which we will be talking about. The second goal for today's workshop is to validate, prove together the work that has been done together at Climate Change, to put down the basis of a future roadmap for the coalition, which will be validated, approved of during the Dakar event in September. This will be the opportunity to give us your feedback, your comments on any issues maybe that were not raised in the roadmap, which you would want to have mentioned. The third goal for today is to continue to do what, as we do often, to upgrade or to share and value our best practices that are done throughout the African continent with our non-state African actors. Our three speakers are all project managers, project leaders of particular initiatives, quite remarkable that, and they're going to be presenting to us. We thank our speakers to be here with us today. A fourth objective is actually goal is to keep and maintain an interactive workshop. Again, you are welcome to ask any questions, raise any questions, send your comment to stimulate our discussion. You are most welcome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all our speakers for being here today with us. We are very happy to see you all. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Tanya, who has worked on the roadmap and the basis of this roadmap for circular economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. I will be speaking in English and presenting to you this roadmap of the coalition which we've worked on. So as Eva said, this is the youngest coalition at Climate Chance. So this is a first draft of a roadmap based document upon which we can build further. And we'll be sending this to you along with the follow-up from this session in order to have your feedback on it later on. So if you've been following our other coalitions, you know that as with all the other roadmaps, we have three main sections. And the first one is Where Are We Now, which lays out the current situation on the ground. And for this particular coalition roadmap, what it does is it gives you an introduction to the circular economy and its main principles, which is designing out waste and pollution, but also trying to keep as much of the materials and products as possible in use, and also another goal of regenerating natural systems. We also try to integrate the four characteristics of a circular economy identified by NDIAYE, who are one of the co-pilots of this coalition. And these four characteristics are to regenerate, substitute, virtualize, and restore. And these could more or less be the framework of action for this coalition going ahead from here on. This first section of the roadmap also lays out the various subsectors, such as circular cities and built environments, water, food systems, technology, fashion, waste, energy, and also the relevance and the potential for action in each of these subsectors, especially in Africa, on the continent of Africa, which of course our speakers for today will be able to shed more light on. And of course, these subsectors this is not an exhaustive list of subsectors, and it's also clear that each subsector needs a unique and specialized approach. But this is something that we can eventually move towards. This document that we have right now is more of a starting point. With that, I come to the second part, which is where do we want to go, which lays out the objectives for the coalition. And at the moment, we've sort of identified these objectives, the first of which is raising awareness about the circular economy and its advantages for the environment, for the economy, for people at all levels, right from individuals and households all the way to communities and local governments. Another goal is increasing the synergies and exchanges between various actors who are stakeholders in the circular economy. And this is also related to the last goal, which is strengthening the global impact that we have through better cooperation between actors at the grassroots, starting right from the members of this coalition. And the other goals include encouraging local recycling and reuse projects, promoting local and indigenous knowledge in Africa, which already makes use of a lot of these circular ideas. And we just need to take these and perhaps combine them with newer innovations and make the best use of the digital space that we find ourselves in, and so on. So these are the goals that we have, the objectives that we have identified. And with these in mind, the third part of the roadmap is the actionable part, which is how to get there. And this part is open to consultation. And this is the part on which we'd like to hear back from you on. For now, we have identified 2 actions which we're already working on in a way. The first is the diffusion of information through the mailing list, which a lot of you are probably on. And we encourage you to share information through the mailing list as well. We could potentially have a newsletter for the coalition to which the various members would contribute. It would be you who create the majority of the content of this newsletter. And then we also have identified the mapping of actors in terms of best practices, initiatives on the ground, which we share through events, through workshops like this, or through our website, especially the cartography for climate action. We will send you a link to it if you haven't checked it out yet. That is where you can find all the best practices that we've listed out geographically. And we'd, of course, love to hear more from you on this when we send you the roadmap or the base document. And we'd love to have your feedback on this. So this is the summary of the document, which we'll share with you. Thank you. And now back to Eva.
Merci Tania, merci beaucoup pour cette présentation de la
Thank you,
future.
Tanya. Thank you for your presentation for the future roadmap, if you can call it that way. Please feel free to write back to us by email.
Donc, tout de suite,
So now we will move on
passer à notre première intervenante,
to our first speaker,
Madame Roliane Kayiba.
Mrs. Roliane Kayiba,
Je crois que oui.
who has just arrived, I believe.
Roliane Kayiba est coordinatrice
Mrs. Roliane Kayiba, she's the national coordinator of Green Space Network. She's also the general director of Tyro, based in the Republic of Congo. And she will present to us a project of waste management, which she started with her team. So her first question to you would be, how did you start working on waste management? Could you tell us a little bit about your background in 3 minutes, and then we will move on to the following questions.
Vous pouvez prendre la parole.
You have the floor, Mrs. Kayiba.
C'est bon?
Oui,
Bonjour.
on vous entend. Bonjour.
Hello.
Bonjour tout le monde. J'ai eu de petits soucis
Sorry, I
avec
had some issues connecting
pour arriver à rejoindre la réunion. Donc,
to this
ça
meeting.
n'arrivait pas à marcher.
It was not
Je
working.
voudrais faire la vidéo, mais je me présente. Je suis Roliane Kayiba.
My name is Roliane Kayiba.
Vous me voyez? Est-ce que vous me voyez, Eva?
We cannot see you, but we can hear you well.
Ah, ok, j'ai des soucis, comprenez. Bon, tout à l'heure, je suis Roliane Kayiba, je suis fondateur
I'm the founder
de
of Green Space Network.
Je suis aussi responsable
I'm also in charge
d'une entreprise au nom de
of a company called Tyrosa,
une entreprise spécialisée dans
which is
la gestion, la
specialized
transformation,
in
la
waste
valorisation des
management
déchets
and
en énergie de
transformation
production
of
propre.
waste
Pour
towards
une
clean
petite
energy.
historique,
Just to give you some background,
mon association est née
my
en 2017.
organization was founded in 2017.
Je commençais par créer l'association en mettant en place
We started
une
the
structure.
organization
On a
by
commencé
developing
tout
a
d'abord par
structure
sensibiliser la population
to
sur
raise
la gestion des
awareness
déchets.
regarding waste management among the population, the local
Vous
population.
m'attendez?
Oh, oui, oui, on vous entend.
J'ai mis en place une structure où on a commencé par
So that's how we
sensibiliser la
started,
population, mais
just
tout est parti
raising
de problématique
awareness.
de la gestion des déchets dans
And
la
it
ville
all
de Kinshasa.
started with
Dans mon
the
pays, la
issue of
RDC,
waste
nous avons un
management in
sérieux problème de la
Kinshasa.
gestion des
We have a
déchets.
serious problem
C'est
in
un
my country, in
problème
the RDC.
majeur
It's
qui
a major issue for
bouleverse
us,
la santé ainsi
which
que l'environnement
impacts
dans la
health
capitale, où on
environment
retrouve
in the
tout le
capital
temps
city
des
of
déchets qui
Kinshasa.
traînent
There
dans la
always
capitale.
garbage.
Alors, aussi, il y a
In the
un
capital,
autre problème qui nous a
refuse.
poussé à mettre
We've also had
en
another
place
issue which
des
led us
structures.
to implement this
C'est
structure.
le problème très criant de l'électricité, la
That
manque
was
d'accès en
the
électricité.
lack of electricity, a
Donc,
lack of
ce qui
access
pousse
to
la
the power
population
grid,
à toujours recourir au bois
which
de
means that
charbon
the
ou au charbon
population had to always use
bois de
coal wood,
charbon ou bien de bois de chauffe pour répondre à leurs besoins
coal
primaires.
wood or wood just
Alors,
for the basic
comme nous le
needs.
savons tous, chaque année, il y a de
Every
conférences de
year,
parties qui s'organisent pour parler de ce
there's been
problématique-là
different
lié
conferences
au
organized to
changement
address this
climatique
issue
et
with
tout. Alors,
climate change
nous avons mis en place
and
des
so on.
structures
That's
justement
why
pour
we
répondre aux
started this
besoins de la
structure to
population, ce qui
meet the
concerne
needs
le
of the
besoin de
population
cuisson.
regarding
Et nous avons commencé par d'abord sensibiliser la population
waste
sur la gestion de
management,
tri
and
à
we started
domicile
to
en distribuant
explain to
différents types
them about
de poubelles
sorting
jaunes,
their
noires et vertes
garbage by using
pour
various
expliquer à la
bins,
population
black,
l'utilité de
yellow, and
chaque
so on,
poubelle.
and explain to
Donc,
them the
cela nous
use of each
facilite,
bin
nous, à tant structure, de pouvoir
and a
passer,
sorting
récupérer
system.
déjà les déchets
So
triés.
we
Au lieu
started
de les
doing
amener
this,
dans le
picking
site de
the
transit où
various
ces déchets ne
sorted
sont pas
garbage
valorisés. On retrouve
to
des
value
déchets
them, to
mélangés qui
upgrade
polluent
those
l'environnement et qui provoquent de
waste,
maladies, surtout aux populations
because
environnantes
that
de
was
ces
not the
quartiers-là.
case before, and it was
Alors, nous avons
affecting the health and the
commencé
environment.
par
So that's how we
sensibiliser et notre
started, by training
sensibilisation
people,
a atteint un grand
and
nombre
we
ensemble
reached
avec
a large number of
la
people
commune délimitée. Donc,
with
comme je
various
disais,
cities around the
nous avons
capital
sensibilisé ensemble avec le gouvernement de la
with
ville.
the help of the
Donc,
local
nous avons
government.
atteint plus de 500 personnes, plus de
We reached
500
about
familles. Nous
500
avons commencé par faire
families.
des sensibilisations de
We
porte à
started
porte.
going door to
Et
door.
partant de cela, on a eu l'opportunité de rencontrer d'autres
That's
bailleurs
when we had the
qui se
opportunity of
sont
finding other
intéressés avec ce
backers,
que nous faisons
funders who were
et
interested in what we
de
were
parler
doing.
du PNUD, qui est le Programme des Nations Unies pour le
And
Développement,
then UN
qui a vu comment on était en train
program
de
for
travailler et
development.
on a soumis un projet où le projet a
So
été
we
accepté.
submitted a project,
Nous
and our
avons eu un
project was
financement pour
accepted.
pouvoir acheter
We
des
received
équipements
some
afin de pouvoir
subsidy
produire,
financing
recycler
to
ces
start
déchets-là que
buying
nous récupérons
equipment
dans notre
to be
usine.
able to
Donc,
process the waste
actuellement,
that
nous
we collected.
produisons le charbon
At the
écologique que nous
moment, we
avons
are
nommé
making
Macala
green
Plus.
coal
Macala Plus, c'est juste le
with Scala
charbon
Plus, which is
écologique fait à
a
base des
green
déchets
kind of
recyclés,
fuel
que ce soit les déchets de la foresterie,
made
que ce
up
soit les déchets
of
de
the
ménage, mais tout
recycled
type de déchets
waste, whether they be
biodégradables.
domestic
Nous le
waste or all
transformons en
kinds of
charbon
waste. We
écologique pour pouvoir
transform this
satisfaire
into
aux besoins de la
ecological
population,
or
ce
green
qui a un
fuel
impact
coal,
directement sur l'environnement
and that has a direct impact
en
on the
arrivant à
environment, of
réduire le
course.
taux de
We managed to
destruction de
reduce
arbres ainsi que
the
le taux
rates, the emissions,
de l'insalubrité dans la ville.
and also the lack of
En
hygiene
recyclant,
in
en
the city.
transformant,
By
nous arrivons à
recycling and
assainir la ville,
transforming
à
the
rendre la
waste, we
ville
managed
propre.
to make the
Et on a
city, the capital
commencé
city, cleaner.
comme ça, voilà un
That's
peu
how
notre
we
historique.
started. That's
Je
our
ne sais pas si je
background.
dois poursuivre encore ou...
Should I continue? Or that was very good. Thank you for answering that first question.
Vous avez déjà parlé un peu
I think you already mentioned
des partenariats que vous avez pu avoir
about your partnership with the CNUD
vous avez eu aussi beaucoup de contacts
and the UN development program. And we also talked earlier about
des collectivités
other partners and stakeholders that you are working with, local authorities, companies, to get them involved in the project. So I just wanted to ask you a second question.
On fait juste deux questions au vu du temps. Ce serait plus sur en quoi le développement du charbon écologique ou
In which way the green fuel, which you mentioned,
est un projet réplicable.
is a replicable, duplicable project. How could this be used elsewhere?
Ces projets, moi je dirais actuellement,
In which way
c'est
can this
parmi
be
le meilleur
replicable?
projet.
I would say that this is among our best projects.
Le
Why?
monde entier aujourd'hui a un
In the
problème
whole world, we have
de
an
changement
issue
climatique. Il nous a
of
été
climate
demandé
change, which is
il a été
affecting the
demandé à
whole
chaque
world,
pays
and
de
every
pouvoir
country was
réduire,
asked to
de
reduce their
pouvoir garder la
gas
température en moins de
emissions.
2 degrés Celsius. Alors, au travers ce projet,
So through
on peut
this
le répliquer
project,
parce
which could
qu'en
be
utilisant le charbon écologique,
replicated
nous arrivons d'abord
by
à répondre
using
à un besoin qui est le
green
besoin
coal,
d'accès
we are
à
meeting a
l'utilisation de
need,
l'énergie de
which is
production.
a
Surtout dans nos
domestic energy, access to domestic
périurbains,
energy.
dans des zones ruraux,
In some
dans nos pays
rural
africains, nous
areas,
avons un sérieux problème
urban areas, we
d'électricité.
do have
Si
a
nous
problem of
arrivons à
electricity,
pouvoir
but if we
répliquer
manage
ces
to
projets dans chaque pays où il se
replicate
pose de
this
problèmes à
project
l'accès à
in other
l'électricité,
countries
donc on
where there
arrive
are
déjà à
difficulties to
fournir une
access the
énergie
power grid,
propre auprès de
we are
auprès de la
providing
population
clean
et qui
energy
coûte
to the
aussi
population,
moins cher.
which
Nous
is
arrivons
cheaper
à
actually.
protéger notre
We
environnement.
manage also to
Sur le plan
protect the environment.
économique, on arrive à épargner.
It's also very economical.
Épargner
We
du tout
save
parce
money that way.
Notre sac de charbon de 50 kilos
For
qui
example,
coûte
the coal
pratiquement
bag of 50
$15
kilos, which is
et un
about
sac de charbon de bois qui
$15,
coûte donc
whereas
$50 pour utiliser pendant un mois.
our
En utilisant
our
un
green
sac de
coal,
$15 pendant un mois, vous arrivez
which we
à
can
épargner
use
économiquement. Sur le
for
plan social, on arrive
for longer, so
à
it's a
créer aussi
saving.
2 emplois.
So that
Surtout
also
aux
generated
populations qui
employment,
sont
jobs,
dans de coins reculés, qui n'ont rien à faire. Quand vous arrivez
and
à les récupérer, que ce soit indirectement ou
when you
directement,
manage to
vous arrivez quand même à
recuperate
pouvoir
some of that
occuper ces
energy,
gens-là à faire
you
quelque
can
chose.
also
Nous, dans notre
occupy
entreprise, nous avons
people and
créé
give
5
them
emplois
some
directs. On
jobs.
a 15
We
emplois
have
indirects. C'est-à-dire de
created
gens qui
2 direct
viennent pour aller revendre
jobs and
notre
15
produit auprès de la
indirect
population.
jobs, people who come to us to go and
Et de gens
sell
qui travaillent
what we
à
have
temps plein
recycled
dans
back
la
to the
structure
population,
aussi.
and we have people
C'est
working
déjà
full-time
quelque
in our
chose.
structures.
Dans le
That's
peu
a
que
start.
nous avons pu créer déjà,
So with the
créer
little that
déjà
we did, we were able
sources de
already
revenus
to
pour
create
chaque
some
famille. Et sur le
source
plan
of income
environnemental,
for
comme je
some
le disais tout à
families.
l'heure,
As I said
on arrive
earlier,
à protéger
we also
l'environnement
managed to
parce que
protect
le
the
charbon
environment
biologique, c'est un
because
charbon
the
qui ne pollue
biological
pas,
coal
qui
does
ne
not
fume pas,
pollute, does
qui
not
ne salit
fume,
pas le main. C'est
is not
vraiment qui répond
dirty.
dans toutes les étapes
It
environnementales.
meets
Voilà,
all
si je
the
dois être très bref
environmental
à répondre,
criteria. That's
je
how I
répondrai
could
ainsi.
answer your question.
Non, je pense qu'on voit très bien l'ensemble des bénéfices de ce genre de projet sur la société.
Yes, we can see the impact on the environment and the society, the population. Maybe we can move on to our next speaker, but we will come back to you for questions afterwards. Thank you for your presentation.
Merci.
Let's move on. We will now continue with our next speaker. I will now give the floor to Mr. Chris Whyte, and we will switch to English.
So we're now going to switch to English. We're going to hear from Chris Whyte, the founding director of ACEN, which is the African Circular Economy Network, which is a major network of circular economy actors in Africa. And we're really happy to have you with us today, Chris, to hear about the activities and just to hear you share a bit of an overview of the type of work that can be achieved by a network. So thank you for sharing your slides. That's great. So he'll also present some opportunities and challenges, maybe for developing circularity in an African context. So Chris, you have around 8 to 10 minutes to present. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and warm welcomes to everyone who's on the call.
Can't seem to hear you. Oh, sorry, that's just me. Sorry.
Everybody else can hear me. I'm going to give you a quick rundown in terms of what the African Circular Economy Network is all about. For those of you who want to take your time to look through it yourself, the website is there. Please feel free to go through ACEN.Africa as a website. Just to give you a bit of a background in terms of what we are chatting about, effectively what we're looking at is looking at the development of the circular economy. And it's how we look at understanding there's this vast amount of material and how we look at reusing that to develop this as a foundation for economic activity across Africa. If we look at the conventional Ellen MacArthur Foundation type analysis or butterfly approach, we have the regeneration of the biosphere and then the technosphere applications on the other side. It gets pretty complicated in terms of understanding how these different things connect and interconnect. So I will try and engage on some of that a little bit later. But it really is about looking at being restorative by design and intention, looking at the utilization of renewable and alternative energies, rebuilding natural capitals, to try and show that although recycling might not be preferred, there are different opportunities for that as well. Moving away from chemicals, understanding that waste is an undervalued resource, and how we can look at utilizing these into the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, and how we can use this in our fight against climate change and adaptation mitigation opportunities. So the vision of the African Circular Economy Network is essentially to build restorative African economies that generate well-being and prosperity, inclusive of all of its people, through new forms of economic production and consumption that maintain and regenerate its environmental resources. We're basically a network of networks. We're a non-profit company registered in South Africa. We effectively started in 2016 as a network of several interested parties. It has since evolved. We converted from a non-profit organization to a non-profit corporation in 2020. And we have looked at further expansion from there, which I'll discuss just now. But ACEN really looks to promote African circular expertise within the continent and from Africa to the rest of the world. So it really is about bringing the ideas together from what we have and our own local expertise and knowledge, and linking that in with the opportunities with other European countries. Currently, we're a network of over 100 country representatives in 30 chapters. Each chapter is a country, and we're connected to a number of international circular economy networks. Some of the countries that you see here, obviously there's a lot of Francophone countries as well, where we have, I think it's 31 African countries at the moment. And through an extended database and network, we're probably in contact with most of the African countries. And we're busy developing this and growing the expertise as the organization grows. So what we have tried to do is to look at understanding one of the applications, and I see this as part of the process that we're looking at here, is to understand and discuss what is happening across Africa. And through, again, collaborations, we've worked with the likes of Footprints Africa to develop an understanding of the circular economy projects across Africa and try and map these out and look at different applications and opportunities to create additionality and share these, to bring these to scale that allows us to be able to promote the circular economy opportunities within Africa. This has also been done through on an online system with the Grid Orendal, where we've also looked at the categorization of the different projects across Africa, looking at sectors, for example, water, manufacturing, agriculture, construction, ICT, and others. And then looking at taking a deep dive into a number of these where we are able to get into the detailed analysis of how these projects are working. Again, it's very important for us to share ideas and we encourage people to look at how we try and drive the opportunities together and bring in lessons from other countries and how we can create additionality and expand opportunities across the continent. In terms of the way that the African Circular Economy Network is functioning, each chapter is a country. So I said we had 30 chapters. That's 30 countries, and each country or chapter is composed of a team of experts. And these comprise people from a variety of different backgrounds, from product designers, waste management, urban developers, electronic waste, biomimicry, and also from the private sector, the public sector, and the knowledge sector as well. Each chapter member must sign the ACEN Charter on ethics and follow that succinctly. And the chapter roles are really within each chapter to promote the circular economy within that country and to share circular business cases and projects. And ACEN as an organization will bring all of those together and try and promote those across the different platforms that we have. ACEN collaborates extensively, and this is done with international and economic organizations, to mention a few, the likes of the African Development Bank, the World Circular Economy Forum, the World Resources Forum, European Union, ICLEI Africa, UNEP, Holland Circular Hotspot, just to name a few. So it's about trying to look at engaging and understanding that no man is an island. We need to look at collaboration and cooperation across the spectrum. And ACEN works with governments, the African Circular Economy Alliance, which was established first of all through Nigeria, Rwanda, and South Africa. We work closely with them at a government sector, where we are a technical advisor to the African Circular Economy Alliance. Again, the focus of ACEN really is to look more at the country-based and project-based applications. And yet we support research with our academic supporters program. And we've created a number of linkages with the University of Cape Town, the Institute of Development Studies in the UK, the Johannesburg School of Economic and Business Studies, the African Leadership University. And this is expanding constantly through our interactions on a daily basis. But we also cooperate with circular networks globally. Obviously, the group we're talking to at the moment, as well as Holland Circular Hotspot, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the Circular Economy Club, Circular Economy in the Americas. That's a new prospect that we're looking at in terms of an agreement from a South-South network agreement perspective. And what we've done is we've tried to understand the limitations of ACEN as a membership-based organization and a voluntary network. We really have evolved over the past few years to become quite a successful organization. But as a volunteer basis, there are limited resources in terms of being able to take that to the next level. So within ACEN itself, we look at managing and developing the membership database, recruiting, maintaining, and managing. We look at the development of chapter and city level projects, as well as chapter and local events, and creating strategic relationships between that. What we have done as of a month ago is we have now evolved into a new organization called ACEN Foundation. And this was born out of a relationship that we forged working with the European Union on a circular economy alliance across Africa. And within that, we looked at 8 different African countries in some detail and looked at a continental report to understand the circular economy within Africa. The group that we worked on with that, we looked at working in terms of understanding how we can take ACEN to the next level, and really linking into understanding the opportunities with the European Green Deal and how we can tap into the resources to help drive developments across Africa, looking at a number of different elements from fundraising, research, looking at national, regional events, and again, looking at moving the database in terms of purely just a list of names as to understanding exactly what those experts are and in what fields they work. So to drive the database to understand how we can allocate resources within Africa to different projects across the continent. So this has been quite a long time coming, but we foresee massive opportunities in terms of the development through the foundation that will allow us to also work and create the African Circular Economy Network as a stronger and more sustainable organization going into the future. So that's it in a nutshell in terms of the African Circular Economy Network. So to answer Eva's question with regards to how we look at the opportunities within Africa, I think it has become very apparent where we are currently. It's become very focused in terms of the impacts on the global supply chains across the world with the pandemic and COVID and the issues that caused. So it's not just the odd ship getting stuck in the Suez Canal. I think this is the new normal. We need to understand that there are going to be problems with global supply chains for a while. Excuse me. And effectively what's happening in terms of Europe is that there are a number of new directives and policies that are being structured to drive a circular economy and a sustainable future for Europe. That is going to create limitations with regards to development of primary resource beneficiation. So as an example, it would make no sense to take iron ore from Africa and transport it all the way across the oceans into Europe to try and produce steel where there are limitations in terms of the energy usage and their carbon emissions. So the idea is that we want to look at local beneficiation. We want Africa to grow and develop more as an opportunity for developing and beneficiating our own resources locally. And again, hopefully to avoid the harsh lessons of the linear economy that we have seen across the developed world, and make sure that Africa is an example to future populations and future people, that we can do things differently and we can make sure that we follow circular principles to ensure that we create a sustainable and secure future for all of the people in Africa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. That was a great presentation. And yeah, it was really nice to see the dynamic work of ACEN and how the network, I think there's a few things that there's lots of parallels we can do as well we can make with the Climate Change Coalition, with the sharing of best practices and finding other actors as well that are also active in circular economy in Africa. So I think there's lots of work that we could do together in the coming months. But now we're going to move on to another example of some concrete work that's been led at local level. And I'm going to switch back into French. Okay. Et oui, donc nous allons passer maintenant à notre dernier intervenant.
Now we will move on to our last speaker, our third speaker for this workshop, Mr. Khadim Untitled from Dakar. He's working in the city of Dakar. He's an expert for the climate and energy plan in Dakar, which is very well known. And he's working mainly, he's going to present to us today the details about the waste management in Dakar. The floor is yours. If you are ready, you can start.
Voilà. C'est parfait. Enfin, voilà, très bien.
Okay, merci. That's great. Thank you. You have 10 minutes. And that will leave us a bit of time for the Q&A.
Ça vient?
Oui, on voit. C'est bon. Vous pouvez commencer. Merci.
Je vais y aller rapidement. Donc, voilà. Je vais commencer par cette citation.
I will start with this quote. You only see rubbish, we see a treasure. From Simeon Heiwi. Waste management has changed today. It's wider than an economic challenge. I will approach this and from our own experience in Dakar with community actors, stakeholders, to have an impact on climate change. We've seen some results. We have micro and micro. Why a community approach for waste management? And I will conclude with some recommendations about the roadmap. Just to explain the process of the implementation of the climate action in Dakar through the Covenant of Mayors, and so on, the city developed its climate plan and the municipality developed an approach with a coordination unit that has managed the process with the support of the EU, of the Covenant of Mayors. We've had some financial backing to come to this result. We try to accompany the community process in parallel to the project, a technical approach and a community approach. We also have a follow-up and monitoring and reporting phase to analyze the results. We are a continent that produces less waste in the world, but yet the waste management is a problem with the increase of population. And if we do not do anything, if we do not act, the amount of waste will triple by 2050. So we need to raise awareness of this issue with the public authority. The World Bank has shown this, has given this chart. It shows the amount of waste per region. Africa is at the bottom, as you can see on this chart. And I will give you some examples. In Senegal, just to give you an idea, for example, every inhabitant produces half a kilo of waste per day, or 179 kilograms of waste per year per habitant. In 2014, we had about 2.4 million of ton of waste produced in Senegal. 46 of this were not collected officially. The urban development is to go from 48% to 62% in 2025, according to the World Bank and a water waste report. There is a need for emergency. In the urban area, 17% of the collecting of the waste comes from illegal dumping. Just to give you a few figures, people who come to Dakar have heard about this place. Just to give you some figures, this is a dump that was created in 68, 114 hectares with over 2,000 recuperators or pickers, including 571 women, 475,000 tons of waste per year, and 300 lorries. This is not a controlled area. Beside this informal place, there is an organization that is trying to give some frame to this profession, to the pickers, waste pickers that are dumped in that place. The bad waste management is polluting the environment and has consequences on the floodings, on the diseases. The water pipes are blocked. There's also a health impact on the population. It's a whole issue that has various ramifications and consequences on the population. So why should we have a community approach? We want to mobilize all the community stakeholders. Dakar is made up of 19 towns, communities, and we've asked them all, what are the environmental issues? What is your perception? In dark brown, these are the people who are more aware. It's important to mention this. We are showing here the number of stakeholders that were contacted. And so we've come up with about 500 stakeholders in 19 of those towns. Now, to give you an idea of those stakeholders, people from the civil society, just citizens, individuals, and women with a greater influence. She's like a delegate or an advisor in the district. And we want to use these people and rely on them to communicate with the imams, also the association, organization, the elected members, teachers, school teachers, community agents, etc. And what have been the results? Through these studies, we have raised 3 issues: waste management, pollution, and rainwater. This is a consequence of the bad waste management. So we need to make a parallel here between the pipes, the channels, water channels, and the used waters, the management of used water, and the waste management. This needs to be dealt by the authority, local authority, the waste management, and the pollution issues make a whole topic together. Now, regarding the waste management in the Dakar city of Dakar, we have composting, which are taken to the landfill outside of Dakar in Meubus. Now, for solid waste, 54% of all the waste, and the others 46%. Through our diagnosis, we wanted to have a special strategy to implement circular economy through our action plan, or climate action plan. We wanted to encourage the valorizing of the waste for a clean and viable city as part of our climate plan. These are our goals for this action. We want to reach a level of 50% of organic waste and 30% of garden waste to be composted by 2050, to treat used waters and use the used waters through fecal system or sludge, sorry. Now, to give you some examples of projects, we have a few projects here which have been submitted to us by the various communities. First of all is a training program for all the stakeholders involved in circular economy. They have required for some training. It's important to train people, for people to understand the technical aspects, for the stakeholders to be able to manage the circular economy and encouraging the population. Now we want to also implement other projects. Now, burnt waste in the open air or dumped in illegal dumpings are also bad for health, human health, for the environment, and for the climate, and are a hindrance to the economic growth. That's something new, which is why it's important, because of health and the environmental issues, and also to develop or create employment. We want to respect the environment and also create new jobs and have added value. We want to reach a more social and economical goal, and also reduce ultimately poverty, because people will be finding employment. That's something to be taken into consideration. Hence this new model to learn how to manage the waste, the plastics, for example, the clothes, papers, wood, sand, metal, etc. Now, for each of these products, material, we need to develop a new model for recycling. We want to develop an economic model for plastic, for food, for other organic material. With our project in Dakar, we are no longer using chemicals, fertilizers. We are using organic elements. What would be the consequence on agriculture, on employment, etc.? This is something that we are addressing now and including in our approach. Just to give you an example of how we upgrade the waste, or in collaboration with another organization, Young People for the Environment. We collect plastic and recycle the plastics to reuse plastic in another context, even in other countries. I will now conclude with 4 recommendations. And talk about the cost of not doing anything, actually. We need to focus waste management on economy to raise awareness among the authority, the local authority. Often the local authorities are looking for immediate action plan, but it's important to explain to them that there will be an economical consequence, and try to develop an economic model as a link. We want to involve people and think about a strategy to try to develop an ecosystem. And this is where I will end for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. We want to make Dakar a clever city with low emission for inclusive and resilient development by 2050. We will glad to meet you in September when we have our summit in Dakar in September 13 to 17. Thank you for your presentation. We have a few minutes left for some questions. We have received a few questions from the audience during the presentation. First question to Mrs. Kayiba. Quickly, can you tell us a bit more about the green charcoal and what is the actual product. Can you describe to us the actual product, what you use for green fuel? There was another question asking if you were going to do some training for women so that they can learn how to produce this charcoal. If we could hear back from you. First, if you could explain to us how you make this. Thank you, Eva.
J'ai aussi suivi avec attention les autres intervenants. C'était super génial. Merci à vous.
Thank you to the other speakers. These were great presentations. Just to come back to what we call the ecological or green charcoal, it's not very hard to do actually.
On a commencé par produire au départ artisanalement avec 200 kilos de biocharbon.
With bio charcoal, and as the needs was getting bigger, then we started having our own machines and we were able to increase our production from 100 kilos to 7 tons per week of bio charcoal, which is another issue for us now. We don't know how to meet all the needs. Yes, we continue to do the training to raise awareness throughout the city. We continue to do training.
Il y a Khadim peut couper son micro. Alors c'est bon. Mais aussi d'autres pays nous sollicitent pour donner de formation.
Also, other countries also have asked us to come and do some training. We are open. We've been asked by other people to learn, to come and teach about our technology. Other countries who might need to learn from us, we are open to come and help and replicate. You can either contact us directly or contact Climate Change. The Green, our organization is called Green Space Network, or you can come through Eva and we will explain to you how to do this. Not only the ladies, there are other people, men who learn how to do this in order to reduce their spendings. We will come and train you, and then you will start producing this green charcoal yourself. I hope I'm answering your question. Thank you. We will be very happy to talk with you about this further. Mr. Assaoui, you had a question?
Donc, merci.
C'est un peu proche du micro, je crois. Un peu près du micro.
Et là, vous m'entendez là?
Oui, oui, voilà, c'est mieux.
Voilà.
Merci.
Donc, merci Eva, merci la coalition.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you to the Climate Change Coalition. You are always here to encourage us and motivate us on the African continent. I've known the coalition through the urban coalition. If we're here discussing today about circular economy, it's in order to develop the African continent. And there is one emergency today to develop the continent. So if we're talking today about circular economy, it has to be a mass circular economy with innovation. It has to be a mass circular economy through innovation. We have been talking about waste and waste management. I'm from Morocco. In Morocco, we are not managing to develop circular economy for waste management. We've seen some initiatives here and there. We do not have this culture, if you like. So circular economy in Africa has to go through social economy and solidarity. If we explain to people what we want to do, people will not understand or believe it. We have to prove to them or show them the benefits and the advantages. So we have to go through a social and economy and solidarity. Thank you for your enthusiasm. That's exactly what it's all about. There is emergency. We are also very open to sharing some more about your projects, what's going on, what you are currently doing, so we can see how we can replicate this in other places. One more question, and it will be the last for today. You have the floor, Mr. Teshom. I think you raised your hand.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Oui.
Thank you very much. My name is Takala from Ethiopia. I really like the presentations made earlier, but one question I would like to ask is, the circular economy approach might successfully operate if you handle it in a consortium approach. The local communities, the administration, the civil societies working in that area, and NGOs engaged in waste recycling, waste management, and the like. Do you have an experience of coalition building or consortium approach so that various skills come together to generate circular economy? Would you share with us if any experience from any one of the presenters earlier? Thank you very much.
Ok, donc un exemple d'une autre coalition.
So an example of another coalition of stakeholders that have been working together for a circular economy initiative. I don't know if any of our three speakers would like to give us an example of this, maybe an example of another coalition for this.
Oui, vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Oui, je ne sais pas, il parle d'une association, n'est-ce pas, qui promeut l'économie.
Oui, je pense que c'est un exemple, un autre
Just to
exemple.
give another example, maybe some collaboration, partnership between various stakeholders.
Monsieur Khadim, vous pouvez poursuivre.
Oui, voilà. Au Sénégal,
in Senegal, for example, I mentioned the landfill of Moibus. Despite the fact that it is not formal, there is there an organization which is called Our Pride. This is an occupation that is maybe not valued. There is still an organization with various people, pickers, of over 2,000 members, men or women and children mainly, and they earn money by selling what they have picked from the dumpings, either glass or steel, etc. There are people working there, and through that activity, they have managed to raise some income to meet their personal needs through circular economy. But what we want to do is have a more formalized network of waste management to create employment and to implement those lessons learned through a more formal approach, to also finance people and support them financially, those who have ideas for development. There is an economic aspect on top of the social aspect.
Merci beaucoup, Khadim. Et je pense que
Thank you.
aussi pour compléter, je viens
Just to add to this, I was just thinking about another example of one of our coalitions, the Mobility Coalition,
le plus avancé sur
that has moved forward
autour de tout le travail qu'ils ont fait sur la feuille de route
with the roadmap on
d'Ivoire. Et en fait, ils ont
sustainable mobility in Ivory Coast. They have
en
used
organisant
the
plusieurs ateliers
collaborative approach by
des avis
taking into consideration all the advices, the
collectivités, des entreprises
local population, the local companies, various organizations, and working together. That is something that might be of interest to you.
Merci pour la question et merci
Mr.
pour la
Takele, thank you for your question, and thank you for the answers. We have already passed our time. Our interpreter. Oh, c'est bon, I can stay.
Je dis ça tout de suite. Et Monsieur Diallo, je sais que vous voulez prendre la parole.
I know Mr. Diallo wants to say something, and then we will have a word of conclusion. Hello, everyone. It's my first time attending the virtual workshop. I had the link through some organization in America. I have a project for waste management and environment with a primary school. So I've heard that this is an issue everywhere, especially with the children who are concerned with this. So I'm thinking about how to train the children, how to help manage the environment and the waste. I've been working on this project for about a year or so. We want to start this project. I've heard about the protection of our environment and so on. But the children are also key. I'm a defender of children. We need to also think about the children, and I will try to get in touch with Mr. NDIAYE, see what we can do together.
Merci de nous avoir rejoints.
Thank you for joining us. In 2 weeks' time, it will be our last virtual workshop of this cycle. We will be discussing about sustainable cities in Africa. There will be cross topics, and you are welcome to join us in 2 weeks' time. It will be our last workshop of the season. Unfortunately, we're going to have to stop now. And we want to make sure that we conclude now. Yes, we will work together. We will meet and work together, Mr. Diallo. Thank you.
On est vraiment impatient de pouvoir retrouver ce moment de spontanéité en présentiel.
We look forward to being able to meet physically again soon. Thank you again, everyone, for taking part in this workshop. We hope that you've enjoyed the presentations. We are here to answer any questions. If you want to work with us a bit more in depth on this roadmap, which will be ready for the event in Dakar in September, from September 13th to the 17th, during the week of sustainable mobility and climate. And at the end of that week, there will be the Climate Change Summit. And it is during that summit that there will be a special workshop on circular economy, and we will be looking at the roadmap again, and we will be sharing some common projects. Thank you, everyone. There is also a call for contributions to be able to identify as many projects as possible. Which will be able to list on our mapping of projects, and we want to invite you to possibly come to Dakar to present your project. So our next workshop will be on June 10th. Again, thank you everyone for joining this workshop, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Merci à tous, à bientôt.
Au revoir. Merci à Dominique d'être resté jusqu'au bout. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.